Hello and welcome to the Paul Green Comedy Podcast. It is December 5th, 2024. This is episode 343. Oh man, I'm getting close to that 365 episode goal, everybody. Oh man. So, this is stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser and dreamer Paul Green sharing my journey and my pursuit of my dreams in the hopes that you might pursue yours as well. And oh man, tonight was the first night in a very busy week of upcoming shows. So tonight I did the Midlife Crisis comedy show with my comedy partner, the one and only Josh Novi, at JP's Comedy Club. We had an amazing turnout and a near packed house, which was fantastic. And I had quite a few friends come out, which was really nice. A friend of mine who I was involved with a couple of weeks ago, she is the producer of a sketch comedy group that I performed with. And it was her birthday, and she came out with her brother and two other cast members of the sketch comedy troupe that I performed with. So that was really nice. Meant a lot that they came out to support the show. And then I also had a special guest, my buddy Carrie Bellessa, who is just one of the coolest guys I've ever met. And he recently released a movie that he had written, produced, and directed called Amber Alert. And it just came out in theaters, about maybe 2 months ago now. And it is now streaming on Amazon Prime. And so I invited him out to the show. So the Midlife Crisis comedy show, what we normally do is pick audience members at random and then interview them about their life, and then we improvise a song about them. But I thought it would be fun to have as my special guest Carrie come up and tell a little bit about this movie that he just recently released, because man, it is so much freaking work to get a movie from an idea to actually being released in theaters. For him, the overall process took over 10 years because he and his wife originally produced the movie themselves with almost no money. It was like, I think they had like a $5,000 budget, and they produced this movie, and then they were actually able to sell it to a Netflix distributor, and the movie actually did really well on Netflix about 10 years ago. So they were able to then, years later, pitch that movie to Lionsgate. And Lionsgate loved the movie and were like, well, we can remake this, and, we'll remake it under the Lionsgate banner and give you actual, millions of dollars to produce this movie. So, they kind of spruced up the script, rewrote it a little bit, made it a little bit more Hollywood friendly. And then he was able to direct it and film it and release it. And the movie came out so good. I was able to watch it in the theaters a couple months ago. He did a fantastic job, and, he's kind of like a rising star as a director. And, and I know this guy, and that is, you know, I don't know. I'm just kind of like grateful that, he's a friend of mine, and that, we get to hang out, and he was happy to come out and do the show with us and tell his story. And he just has such a fascinating, um, viewpoint on life because, oh man, like I said, producing a movie, I think maybe something that isn't blatantly obvious, maybe to a lot of people, is that like, if j- just because he is directing and like produced this movie, I think maybe the perception is like, oh, he must be like rolling in money, buying yachts. And it's like, no, he's hustling and grinding every single day like the rest of us. And just because he got this one movie out, he now has to go into the next project and get that one greenlit. And there's quite a lot of similarities with that in stand-up comedy. It's like, you can have a great show, you can sell out a venue, you can even get like massive TV credits. And then there's always, well, what do you do next? And, you know, and how do you continue to grow your career? How do you continue to hone your craft, improve and go to whatever the next level, is for you. And I talk about this a lot on the podcast. It just reminds me more and more how it's all journey. Everything about life is just enjoying the journey as much as you can, because there isn't really a destination. Because no matter whatever destination you get, once you get there, then you're going to want to go to whatever the next thing is, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. So it's a good reminder for me to just remember to enjoy the journey as much as you can. Because if you're looking for a destination to provide happiness, well, good luck, because you're going to get to that destination, and then the goalpost is going to move, and then you're going to be unhappy till you get to that next goalpost, and then it's going to move, So I talk about that a lot, but I don't know, just hearing Carrie's story just reminded me that, on one hand, it's like, wow, this guy just directed and produced a movie under the Lionsgate banner, one of the largest movie producing studios in Los Angeles. Like, they are legit. It's Lionsgate. And now he's just going, well, yeah, now I've got to get, the next project greenlit and, convince them again to work with me. It's like, just because they hired him or let him direct one movie doesn't mean they're going to let him direct everything. He still has to sort of kiss up and, go through that same process. So anyway, I was really grateful that he came out to the show. The show overall went very, very well. We had some really fun people that volunteered to come up and tell us a little bit about their life, and we had a super fun time, me and Josh, improvising some songs. So this is the start off, as I said, of a very long week of performances. Tomorrow night, meaning Friday, I'll be doing another show with Josh, a corporate show. And then I'm going to be playing Batman on Sunday at a kids party. And then Monday, I've got a gig in North Los Angeles. And then Wednesday, a gig in Salt Lake City. And then I'm back at JP's in Gilbert for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for 5 stand-up comedy shows, 4 of which I'll be headlining. So it's gonna be a lot, but I'm looking forward to it. Very grateful, very excited for all of these upcoming shows. So with that, let's talk about Brene Brown and the power of vulnerability. So I have been commenting on this book, sharing my insights, since this book to me is so revolutionary. And I'm still in the introduction. So I'm just giving my commentary. She listed 10 attributes of people who she calls who are living wholeheartedly, who are the wholehearted people in the world. And if she could qualify 10 different attributes that these people all seem to exhibit to some degree or another. That's how she would consider, somebody, or these 10 attributes are how she would consider somebody being a living wholeheartedly. So I think I'm on the fifth one. And the fifth one is cultivate intuition and trusting in faith and let go of the need for certainty. Oh, man. Oh, man. This one is hitting me in all kinds of ways. Cultivate intuition and living in faith and let go of the need for certainty. So, where do I even begin on intuition? Because I man, I go back and forth with intuition because it's like, how many people have had intuition and then took some sort of action and, it either had no effect or in some cases, had like a negative effect. It's like, well, was I really inspired, to do that thing? But then at the same time, how many stories have we told of somebody's just like, oh, I just felt something and yeah, and I just knew this thing was going to happen, and then it does. So, gosh, I don't even know how to unpack intuition. Like, what is it? I know maybe if you're religious, intuition is maybe God speaking to you, so you feel some sort of guidance from an external entity. Like, fair enough. Maybe that's what's going on. If you're spiritual, maybe it's just, you are connected to the infinite universe and the collective conscious, and every human being has a conscious, and we're all connected, spiritually through some sort of, spiritual, unseen, Ethernet cables, whatever it is. And that intuition is the culmination of human knowledge and experience and wisdom that we're able to access through some sort of spiritual receptor. Is intuition just calling on past bad experiences and saying, oh, well, when I was in a similar situation, I acted and behaved in one way and the outcome was not favorable. So now I have this intuition. Now I have a little bit more wisdom. I'm going to behave more wisely. But, it has nothing to do with spirituality at all. It just has to do with somebody gaining wisdom with more data points to be able to utilize to make a better decision. But I have definitely been led by intuition at many times in my life. I mean, when I moved to LA, it was just so bizarre how that all came to be and how I just felt guided and encouraged to both internally and externally, by the way, and then all of the details that lined up through random synchronicity that landed me in the place that I lived when I was in LA, the place I lived for 7 years, and how all that happened. And so, it's really difficult for me to say, well, there's no such thing as intuition, or there's no such thing as divine guidance or a collective conscience or whatever. I have a real hard time defining it. And again, I know there's plenty of, religions and philosophies and, spiritual teachers or whatnot who all have their interpretation of, who God is and who's giving intuition and guidance and whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of intuition other than I have had moments in my life where I just feel a certain way. I just feel very sure in what I'm doing and what I'm going for. And there are times when I don't feel that. So I don't know. I don't think I was helpful at all talking about intuition. So let's move on by living um, in faith or living by faith. And this I can totally get behind, whether you're using faith in a religious context or a completely secular context, because at the end of the day, every single one of us lives by some degree of faith just by getting out of bed. Because if we didn't have faith that, getting out of bed was going to be a safe endeavor, then we wouldn't even do that. We wouldn't do anything. So I really think of faith as just a more practical definition for human beings just living, because just getting up and living requires faith, because we don't know what's going to happen today. And, we don't know what awaits us at any given time. And so just being, to me, is an act of faith. And then, perhaps in a more deliberate and specific context, anybody going for a dream is acting in faith, because anything that we pursue is going to come with some sort of opportunity cost. And sometimes a financial cost, and sometimes an emotional cost, and sometimes a relationship cost, And so all of those decisions that we made are all made in faith that whatever it is we're doing now is going to lead to a more favorable outcome in the future, although we don't ever really know, which is just the whole very random reality of this existence. So no matter what you believe, if you just get out of bed, you are living a life of faith, because there is no telling that getting out of bed is a good idea today, or no telling what's going to happen, or, whatnot. So there you go. Intuition and living by faith. And then letting go of the need for certainty. And oh man, that's a tough one, because I know for me, I'm on this path, I'm making sacrifices, I'm making my decisions, but there is a part of me that's like, I would really love for this to have a certain specific outcome. I would love some certainty that everything that I'm doing actually is going to be enough to help me arrive at my destination and actually fulfill and achieve my dreams. And so sometimes I just have to let go of that as well and just go, you know what? Actually, anything could happen. I could never hit my big goals. I could never get discovered. I could never have a big break. Like, there are plenty of options for my dream to die on the vine and not materialize the way that I have hoped. But trying to compensate for that with a sort of certainty mindset, or trying to seek certainty, like, before I ever make any move, I need to know every element, of every risk, whatever, and I need to know for sure that it's going to be successful. And reality is, you just don't ever get that in life. It doesn't matter what you've done before. It doesn't matter how competent you are or how spiritual you are. There is always a chance that something could go wrong. Something may not pan out, and that is just the reality of it. So letting go of that need for certainty, I think, is so important, because, again, it also sort of piggybacks on what I started talking about, earlier in this episode, which is, um, oh, how do I word this? So you have this need for certainty. You want things to turn out a certain way. You take risks and you move forward, but learning to just enjoy the journey, to me, has to do with that letting go of a need for certainty. Because if you're focused on the destination, that's almost the certainty. Like, well, once I get the certain destination and I have certainty around that destination, I know it's going to happen. It has to happen. And then it happens. And then guess what? Now you want the next thing. And the reality is the destination is never certain. It's like every year, 32 teams in the NFL all want the Lombardi Trophy. All 32 teams are trying to get to the playoffs and trying to win a Super Bowl. And every year, one team actually does it. So there is no certainty that no matter how good you think your team is at the beginning of the year, that you're going to be able to get that team to the Super Bowl and win one. Only one team gets to do that, yet every year, every 32 teams takes the field, and players take the field and go play with the intuition and the hope and the faith that they will, be successful and win the league. And yet, reality is there's going to be 31 disappointed teams at the end of every season. So letting go of that need for certainty to me is just another way of saying be present, live with joy and fulfillment in each moment, and, let go of that need for everything to be a certain way or to turn out a certain way, because at the end of the day, are just certain things that are going to happen in our life that we have no control over. And all we can do is focus on what we can focus on and try to, move forward in faith, using our intuition, trust in our gut when we need to, and then just having faith that all will turn out how we want. So, all right. I hope I did a good job unpacking that. It's kind of some tough concepts for me to unpack, especially when I'm exhausted and I've had a very long day. But I hope that was helpful to all of you out there, and that you are pursuing your dreams, finding joy in the journey and fulfillment. So this has been the Paul Green Comedy Podcast for December 5th, 2024, episode 343. I love you all so much. I'll talk to you tomorrow.